This is the Fredericksburg Neighbors Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Dory Stewart.
Welcome to another episode of the Fredericksburg Neighbors Podcast. I am excited to introduce you to my guest today. Debra Balestreri is the owner of Corgi Clay Art Center. Debra, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, well, thank you. Happy to be
I'm
here.
excited to dive into this today. So let's start off by sharing with the listeners a little bit about Corgi Clay.
Awesome. Yeah. We are a clay art center. That's the short of it. So we offer classes and workshops for pretty much ages 6 and up in anything clay, anything ceramic related. But we have a lot more than just classes and workshops and galleries, consignment shop, residencies, firing services, a whole lot. And we are in Northern Stafford.
That's a lot of offerings. So tell me, how did you get into this? Tell me the backstory.
Yeah, I mean, I've been an artist myself for well over 30 years. My BA and my MFA is in ceramics. And I worked for a nonprofit for 14 years up north. And I've always had a very art-related job. And my husband and I resettled from Fredericksburg into North Stafford to move a little closer to work for both of us. And I noticed that there was no real creative outlet here in Stafford for this kind of media. And it just happened to be like an idea that sparked in my head, like, whoa, this should happen here. Like, where do people go to like release tension? So in 2020, before I knew COVID was a thing, I decided to make that happen. And it took years to actually get to that point where we could open our doors. But yeah, I've been at this for so long, and I am naturally an educator. I've been teaching for many, many years. So I wanted to kind of, give back to the community and continue teaching, but do it on my own terms too. That's
awesome. I love that. So tell me, how did you come up with the name?
So I love the dogs, Corgis. I was probably college. I bought my first Corgi for myself because I saw some documentary on Welsh Corgis and I was like, oh my God, they're so cute. So I found a breeder and she was in La Plata, Maryland, and her farm had just been hit by a huge tornado and they had to get rid of all these animals to find them good homes. So I got a really good deal on a new puppy and I just fell in love. And ever since then, that was probably in the early 90s. And ever since then, I've always had Corgis, and they're just rambunctious. They're sweet. They're fiery little dogs, and they're great. They're just such a personality. So, and my whole life has been around them now. So I decided that had to be somehow played into my art center when I opened up.
I love it, and I've happened to have seen photos of your Corgis, and they are the cutest ever. Love them. So what would you say are some maybe myths or misconceptions about your business?
I think what's funny is that I'm so happy that the word Corgi is a part of what I do, but I think that throws people sometimes. We have a lot of people that will come in the door and say, well, I thought you were a pet store. So they miss the clay art center part. They just say Corgi and they get really excited. So that's kind of a funny misconception that's out there because of our branding and the dog and the logo and everything. Another little misconception, which is just kind of a funny one to me, but a lot of people come in thinking that we are a paint your own pottery shop too. They see clay, they think pottery, they make those connections in their head about, oh, I can go in there, grab something off the shelf that's already made and just paint it, have something to do in the afternoon with my grandson. And it's a little bit of an education moment for me when they come in the door, because I have to explain, oh no, those are great shops and they do exist in the area. But what we do is we actually teach you how to make it yourself. So we are about the education of the craft, not just as a pastime. So yes, it's a lot of fun to do, but there's also so much to learn. There's physics and chemistry and all of these sciences that kind of come into play with this art media. So we like to pass on that educational aspect of what it means to be a real ceramist. And usually that just like surprises the heck out of people when they come in the door. They're like, oh, this is a much bigger deal. Like, oh yeah, absolutely. And I think it excites them. So it's a misconception, but at the same time, it's a real opportunity for us to educate the public on the broader aspect of the ceramic arts.
Yeah, I love that. So both mistakes, the corgi as well as the paint your own, as long as it's getting people in the door and you're getting a chance to educate them. So I love that. So I can tell that you have a lot of fun with what you do. I can see you, light up when you're talking about it. But when you're not, in the studio, besides playing with your corgis, what do you do for fun?
I don't know that I'm ever not in the studio. I think when you own a small business, you're never not working, right? Like,
True.
So, I mean, even when I'm not at the shop and I'm not interacting with the public or teaching classes, I'm usually making my own work because I'm still a working artist. So I have to set aside time during the week very purposely to take off my business owner hat and put on my like artist hat and remember that I'm still a maker and I'm still a creator. So I have to build that time in because that is my livelihood. That is, when I sell my work, whether it's at a local art fair or a farmer's market or online, that's what's sustaining me. The small business, it's paying for itself, but I don't make a salary from that yet. We're just too new for that. So I have to work hard on my own work as well and continue to grow. And being that I've been in education for as long as I have, I take classes still, I do workshops still, I do my own, whenever I can get out there and learn from other artists and learn new techniques or new ideas, I do that. And if I'm not doing any of that, I'm probably sitting on a beach somewhere in Mexico, like drinking a margarita if I can. That's about it.
I love that. So that's so interesting. I imagine that that's a challenge, especially when you're working in, or when you own a business that is in, the craft, your artistry and making money that way. I imagine that's a challenge.
It is. It absolutely is. I think a lot of artists or art enthusiasts who think, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to do this for a living because I find so much joy in it. They realize very shortly in getting into that business that you can get burnout really quickly. And then you lose the joy in what it is that you were doing in the first place. So you have to create balance every week where you have days that you just don't think about the other and you think about what it is that brought you to doing this in the first place. And I think that's really important to change that mindset, flip the switch a little bit. But it's not easy to do because I've met a lot of artists that have had burnout and they just quit altogether and they kind of lose that joy, or some that are on the verge and they just, they're looking for like, what should I do next? Like, how do I not get to this point where I want to give up? And it's hard. It's definitely it's a lot of work to do that.
I imagine. Are there any other challenges or obstacles that you feel like you have overcome that have now made you stronger, either personally or in business?
Yeah, absolutely. When I started my career in the arts, it wasn't strictly in teaching. It was working for a nonprofit. I'll say this, that the nonprofit that I worked for wasn't the best managed. And unfortunately, it was a large part of my life because I was there for 14 years. But I think what I learned from that is what not to do as a business owner.
Okay. Yeah.
But I did it. I think I had to learn a lot in a very short amount of time. And I learned how to budget properly. I learned how to hire quality instructors. I learned how to let go of the ones that weren't performing well. I had to be a boss at a very young age. And then I learned how not to treat your customer, how not to treat your students. And I think that has made me a better owner of this business, a better understanding, a better understanding of my customer demographic when they come in our doors. I'm not the way that job kind of made us be, very purposely. So I think it taught me good lessons of how to be better than that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
So what is something that you wish the listeners knew about your business?
That we're a great space. We're a lot of fun. We're about building community. So even if you just wanted to come in and try something, you're going to find you make this like connection with people when you create this tribe that you want to be a part of. And it's a lot of fun. But that being aside, other than being a really great community space where you can learn things, we are also a beautiful space for gallery work. So we have quite a bit of artists that are local to the point of like Fairfax, Manassas, King George. Like we're all pretty much in this kind of Northern Virginia area that show here. And we have some amazing quality artwork by living artists. And if there's something that I am really passionate about as an artist, it is supporting other living artists. There's one thing that the art world loves to do, especially high-end New York galleries, they really promote those artists that everybody knows by name, your Picassos and your Manets and stuff like that. But these are artists that are no longer benefiting from what it is that made them that way. And I think that if you're a real collector of art, or if you consider yourself a collector, it is a luxury item and an investment, but you should invest in local artists that are making really great, beautiful, poignant work. And I think it's nice to see that I can hang some of that up in our studio space and work with artists on consignment that way. So when you're looking for gifts, or you're looking for that unique work or something to dress up your office or your home, you should look for your local galleries, because you can find some real gems.
That's amazing. And so if the listeners want to come and check out some of that work, or if they want to come and take a class or learn more from you or meet you, where's the best way? How can they find you?
Yeah, easiest would be go right to our website, corgiclayartcenter.com. But we are on all the socials. We're on the Yelp and the Google reviews, and we do, Facebook and Instagram. We are silly with our reels. We make a lot of funny reels on Instagram. Try to engage with the public that way and stay relevant. So yeah, and then anything we can do out there. We do a lot of like local fairs, the farmers market. We try to be there once a month in Northern Stafford, next to the Lowe's commuter lot there. Long family markets. We try to be with them at least once a month. So yeah, we are all over. And I think the easiest thing to do is just walk on in our doors and ask questions, because we love interaging with the public.
Awesome. Amazing. Debra, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today and sharing Corgi Clay with us. Listeners, you got to go check out Corgi Clay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Fredericksburg Neighbors Podcast. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to fxbgneighborspodcast.com. That's fxbgneighborspodcast.com, or call 540-534-4618.